What do you think about games that center themselves on non-canon events and already existing universes? Not necessarily gaming universes. This question is confusing.
Talking about like
Wait.
every
Let
anime
me read
game
it.
ever.
Yeah. If this question is confusing for clarity, example is one of my all-time favorite RPG games, Lord of the Rings: The Third Age, where you play as a party of characters
Oh yeah.
that are strikingly similar to the already existing characters of the movies. And basically, the story of the game is that your party follows the Fellowship on their journey, and from time to time joins up with them. For instance, in the scene where one of the hobbits knocks the suit of armor down the well, your party is actually in a cave directly beneath them, and they almost get clonked by the armor. There's also there's also other instances where your party joins up with the main cast of the movies and partake in important battles with them, like teaming up with Gandalf when he fights the Balrog, and helping Aragorn and protect Helm's Deep. Obviously, the game is not canon. It was made possible back when EA wasn't a completely reprehensible pile of donkey shit.
Yes, they were. We just got lucky. They were absolutely horrible then, trust me.
Additionally, if you think of it, what are some non-canon games you would like to see take place in established franchises, and what would they be about? Side note, hope you guys had a great Christmas and New Year's. I got a $100 gift card for a game store
Awesome.
from one of the dog owners, and for New Year's, I didn't get blown up by fireworks. Like 6 years ago. I don't know what that means. Also, side note too, have either of you seen the Tremors movie? A lot of unpack here, but it's for all that sweet, sweet content.
Yeah,
Of course we have. Tremors is great.
Is Tremors the giant worms?
Yes.
I think I've seen parts of it, and I may have been inebriated. I'm not too sure.
Kevin Bacon and I forgot the other guy's name.
I've not sat down to watch it in a manner that was productive, but I have seen it. So
Tremors is phenomenal. It's a great fucking movie.
Great movie.
Nice.
All of the sequels are doo-doo. Don't watch them.
Oh, they're terrible.
Isn't
so
that
bad.
usually happens with stuff like that? Like you have a really good, and they can never recapture.
They were all straight to video.
They can never recapture the lightning. Damn.
If they had gotten all the cast members back, and if they had actually put money into it, it'd be one thing.
Yeah. Well, of course, Kevin Bacon he blew up after that. Because that wasn't one of his first roles. I know that was one of his earlier roles.
He wasn't from Footloose.
He blew up with Footloose.
I was gonna say, what the fuck?
Wait, hold on. No, was that before or after Footloose?
That was after Footloose.
Tremors
was early 2000s, wasn't it?
Yeah, because he died in Friday the 13th, and
let me see. I think Tremors was early 2000s. Tremors
was not. No, Tremors was definitely
90s.
That was like 88,
Oh wow!
89.
Holy shit!
1990.
It says Tremors 2 96. Fuck. Okay. Did I see
First Tremors was 1990.
Yeah, the sequel came way after.
Did I not watch the original Tremors? I might have saw a different one. Or I just watched it really late. I don't know. But there's one coming out in 2020, boys.
One's really good.
Shrieker's Island.
No.
Wait.
Oh no.
They've not stopped with the sequels. They released a sequel not too long ago. The guy who played
it's on Netflix.
Reba McEntire's husband is the main character.
Oh,
Fred Ward came back briefly.
This looks
awful. He has
awful.
no career now.
Michael Gross, is that the guy?
That's it, Michael Gross, yeah.
Oh, and John Heater's this movie? Oh no.
What happened to his career? I like him. He should be doing better.
Joke's on you guys. This movie's got how many stars?
38% on Rotten Tomatoes. Oh yeah.
It's got 6 stars on this. Why do they do a 10-star system? I can't even count that, and they just show that. That's awful. Fuck you, IMDb. Got 5.5 out of 10.
If you're gonna do 10, just do a number out of 10.
Yeah.
7 out of 10.
I have to go and count every star out of the 10 stars. It's fucking awful. All right. Okay. Well, the Tremors conversation happened. Okay. So non-canon games that are so I would assume it'd be like his thing. So say a game comes out.
I don't like non-canon games. So
there's your
next
answer.
question.
I like if they're able to take a game and come back to a story and explain a different side of it that's intriguing. I actually really enjoy that kind of storytelling. Like it's a story we know and love, but you're seeing it from a different view, different angle. But when it's non-canon, I don't know. It's something about it. Like I enjoy it, but like there's this weird lack of weight that I feel when I'm playing it, because like you're like, well, none of this is really, it doesn't matter. Because it doesn't actually fucking exist when you consider it canon.
If you could write it in a way to where it syncs up into the storyline perfectly, and doesn't
like
interrupt with any of that which doesn't exactly sync up perfectly. But yeah, if you could sync it up to where it doesn't, because remember they team up with the other guys, and that never happened. So
Oh
if
yeah,
you could
okay.
write it in universe, but maybe it was like a different squad, like you could do a Soul Eater game, and it could just take place around the other things that are happening, but you're
Different
doing a
students in the
secondary
school,
conflict.
or yeah, so that'd
Yeah,
be cool.
you could be in the school, you could see the other guys going down the hallway, but maybe you don't know them personally.
Or what if it
You
was,
know,
or what if it was like something like how I can't fucking think right now, which is 90% of the time. Like, so say it's the story, it's still the main conflict, but you're getting the conflict from like not necessarily the villain's side, or maybe there's a different party that tried to help, but they actually released the villain or fucked up and caused the problem. It reminds me of kind of like how Shadowbringers was done with the Warriors of Darkness that come over in Heavensward. You're like, who the fuck are you guys? Then you actually find out about their story on the first in Shadowbringers, and I don't want to spoil any of that because Shawn hasn't played it yet. Fuck you. And there's a whole different side to that story, but it still applies to the main problem going on. You're just seeing the view of it from these other people, and it's intriguing in that way. I actually adore when stories do that. But if he's saying it strictly is non-canon, like it can't be something like a game coming out later that is the same story but establishes canon in a different viewpoint, then I guess
like it would just be something that's not officially part of the canon. But if you could write something that melded and fit with the canon perfectly, like if the original author would look at it and go, "Hey, yeah, fuck that, that's canon too," but they just haven't had a chance to say that yet, kind of situation. Then I could be down with that.
Yeah,
but I've never played something like that.
Because your issue is when the canon's messed with, right? Where like what's previously established, if something new comes out and fucks with that, either takes shit out or rewrites certain shit. So
that's why the Sword Art games were so hard for me to play. Like I liked them, I genuinely enjoyed all of them, but they're so hard for me to play because they break the established canon.
Yeah.
Every single one of them does.
Yeah, because I guess in my mind, I'm thinking of something that'd be like kind of like Halo Reach to the Halo universe, where it's just a different view, but that's still all technically canon. Where his thing is like something that like, what if Halo 3 happened, but Arbiter had a daughter, and you played as the daughter as she went to elementary school or some shit?
Yeah, no, I'd rather have my nuts put in a vice.
Sheesh. We'll see, like his example, which
I think his example sounds awesome. Like if I was a huge fan of Lord of the Rings, I would
have
adore
that game. I have that game, and I've beaten it a couple of times. I actually started playing through it a few years ago. But I get what he's saying. Like, I mean, the non-canon part, I think would trip me up just because it's like, okay, it takes place in the same universe, but it's technically not how it happened. It's more like a side tangent or like parallel kind of thing. It'd be kind of like if you play Persona 5 and you played as Goro or Akechi.
That would be cool. Yeah, if you played as Akechi.
I think it'd be cool to see like how he got involved with the spirit. I mean, the Shadow.
But imagine like, it just feels weird. Like if they do all that, but they come out and say, "Hey, that was non-canon." It just feels weird when you already understand everything else going on, because you're like, then what was the fucking point? Just make it canon if you're going to tell the story. But I get sometimes there's fuck ups, and that's not always the case. My thing is, if the story's cool and you enjoy it, then the canon really doesn't matter all that much, because it was still a cool experience you got to experience. Like,
a lot of people can divorce themselves that way, like the people that watched the new Star Wars trilogy.
Oh god,
that shouldn't have been canon.
Well, those movies,
they saw it as canon, and they were like, "Oh, that was really good," and then everybody else in the world was like, "No, it wasn't. Shut up." It's like that to me.
Yeah.
Like, if you can get into the new Star
Wars
movies and you can somehow enjoy them, I don't understand that at all. But I'm not knocking you for it. I mean, I think you might lack some taste, but
I mean, like
whatever.
Kind of like how Rogue One, even though it is canon, technically, it's still a side story that takes place with characters that are not part of the main roster or whatever.
Yeah, but like, the thing is that's not part of like the point of his question. Like, it would have to be strictly something non-canon, I would assume. So it would have to be a new game, something new came out.
Yeah, but if Rogue One was never accepted into canon, but yet it doesn't disrupt canon, then that would have worked.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it was canon, so it doesn't work.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I can't really think of any game that does that, dude.
No, but he's like, what is a game you would like though in a franchise? So say like, would you like I mean, Shawn probably wouldn't be anything that messes with canon, but if someone were able to masterfully blend the new story into a story that already exists in canon without fucking up that canon,
I just had another idea real quick. What if you had like, let's say, the guy Mishima, the guy who makes no, not Mishima. The guy in Persona 5, who's the guy who gets bullied, and he makes the Phantom Thieves website.
Yeah. I think his name is Mishima.
What if there was a game where he thought he was a Phantom Thief, but it was all like in his mind or whatever?
I hate that shit. I hate when they pull like it was all a dream or it was all fake.
But that would be like the whole point of how they could like say it was non-canon. It was all in his like maybe he got captured and he has a delusion. That'd be the only way I could like tie in how would you make a non-canon game that was coincide with the main game.
Yeah,
I know that trope is in a lot of things, and I know that's a very you ever use trope,
even
but
like
the only way I can see it.
Even like I would assume they would be canon, so this doesn't really work. But just as an example, like they used to have like the Super Peach games, like back on the Game Boy Advance and shit.
Yeah.
Where
that's
your Peach saving Mario, or even like we would never see something like if they never took the creativity element. Again, these are all canon experiences because Nintendo doesn't really they don't really care too much about it. They'll I don't know, Mario eats ass. That's canon. They don't give a fuck. They do this shit all the time. But like Luigi's Mansion, we've never seen anything like that. If they actually like truly cared about like keeping some kind of weird rigid canon thing, but no, that's all canon. Like that happened. Luigi did save Mario at some point because of Luigi's Mansion. But again, you could do anything in that fucking franchise because they don't give a fuck. They'll go anywhere. They'll do anything. There's no set laws. But I don't know if I wanted. So, what kind of franchise would I like to see some kind of non-canon game that would take place in it? And what would it do?
I don't do non-canon, so I can't help you.
I mean, just the idea of non-canon I don't like because I'd rather it be canon if they can weasel it in that way. But if it had to be non-canon, I think something like even like maybe something else Halo-wise, like we learn more about early in the Spartan program. If it had to be non-canon, I don't know, throw something in there that makes it non-canon, but whatever. But so maybe something. But even then, you're learning about something that
Spartans are actually made of jelly beans.
Fuck. What else? Let me think. I'd like to see more Mario stuff with different characters. Maybe like a game with Waluigi or.
In fact, someone made a fan game of Waluigi that was really cool. I think the Game Grumps played. No, I think they played it or someone else played it. But you're Waluigi and you have a side scroller, and you have this power of like a third eye or like a psychic abilities, and you can like throw enemies with this little cursor thing or whatever. So it's this fan made game, obviously. So that's non-canon. But yeah, I'd love to see more of the B list or whatever I don't know what the tier list for Mario characters are, but the more lesser known, like even actually, you know what? I don't know if it does count as canon, but the new Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga games, the remakes they've done a tangent game where you play as the minions of Bowser that kind of like coincide with the story. Like you play as a Goomba that has to like guide the minions to go find Bowser. So I don't know if they probably count it as canon, I think, at some point. But like some of those games, like let's have a game about the villains. Like do a game about you start as a lowly Goomba, or you start out as this, and you get to find out what it's like to be in Bowser's army, or something like that. Like have a different perspective. I know that doesn't really coincide with the prompt, but I think more or less like let's see stuff outside the canon and see like what can be done with these extra characters, or like what other stories can be told through those perspectives. I think would be really cool.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool. I don't know how the fuck they would manage it, but for some of my favorite Mega Man games, the Battle Network games, the way Mega Man and other things exist in that universe, they're not robots, they're programs. So it'd be cool to like play as the scientists that got to the point designing those programs. And I don't know how the fuck you do that gameplay wise, but like you were the scientists that, because I think Lan's dad is who built Mega Man, and Mega Man further refined him, or the code for Mega Man.exe or whatever the fuck. But that'd be cool if like you played before that was all super huge and everything was this like the online utopia kind of shit. It would be kind of interesting to see that like cursor leading up into it and what those scientists did. And that could be non-canon. I don't give a fuck. I just think it'd be interesting to see that viewpoint. So a lot of what makes these things so intriguing is you're taking a look at the same story but from a different angle, different side. So seeing even like, and some stories revolve their whole premise or their whole thing about that, like Goblin Slayer per se. Like you have a grand arcing story going on, but that's not what that's not what you're watching. You're watching the lower people dealing with the low tier bullshit and just the day-to-day experiences they're having in those problems. It's not there is a grand arcing scenario going on somewhere, but that's not the focus of the show. I always think that's really cool, seeing it from either like the layman's perspective, you're just the lowly villager, or you're just running a shop and you have adventurers coming in to buy shit from you. It's just stuff like that I think is cool. It's always nice seeing a different perspective. So that's
funny because the author of Goblin Slayer even said that, and it said in the book that the gods have noticed him, and he would have at any point in time been an epic level hero.
Yeah.
But because of his emotional scarring and because of the weird way that the lives are prioritized in this fantasy world, that he has intentionally basically level limited himself. Like if he ever wanted to, like he basically is sitting on an assload of experience points that he never spends.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna stay here
like
and fucking exterminate these little low level assholes kind of shit.
And to make sure no bleeding heart fucking goblin rights activists ever want to stick up for them. Like, by the way, look, they rape and cannibalize constantly. Like that is their thing.
Yeah.
Like rape then eat. That's all they do. So if you want to stick up for them, now is your time to try.
Yeah.
They make sure you can hate those fucking things like so easy right out the gate. And the worst, man, that show still fucks with me.
Yeah,
but and I love it. And I love Goblin Slayer, but there's so much nuance and brutality in that show, and just fuck, like, and then you really never learn the world because everything is stuck on his perspective, and then the people that rotate around him. So you never see anything that's going on outside of his bubble.
Yeah, but I just the idea,
it's a very unusual way to tell a story.
Yeah, the way Alex explained the way they handled this Lord of the Rings thing, I can see working with so many different types of stories. And
I intentionally avoided that game for the very reason.
I mean, I'm not too well versed in RPGs. I played a lot of them, but to me, it's pretty decent. I'm sure you could probably pick apart a lot of stuff in there, but I actually liked it. It was cool. You got to play along with Eric. So what was cool is that the main characters were like super powered or whatever. They had like really good abilities and stuff, which you could eventually learn with your characters at some point. But yeah, it was pretty interesting. It got pretty tough at sometimes, especially like in the third act when you're in the third movie. But what's cool is that spoilers, you get to fight Sauron, which is pretty cool.
Cool.
And if you don't have any really awesome abilities, you might get wiped. But no, it was kind of cool that it played alongside with
what does Sauron look like? Is he just the eye?
He doesn't have a body anymore, so I'm really not sure.
What does he look like in the game? You're just fighting the eye pillar?
Yeah, you're just fighting the eye.
Oh, that's fucking interesting. But like, even like if like the course of say like Halo ODST was, instead of it being you a soldier separated from everything, what if you were with like the crew that ran with the chief, or that was called in for reinforcements for the chief, and you show up and you see him fucking rocket jumping, or obviously, but just him running by you and taking out like a group of fucking Covenant. That'd be fucking cool as shit, because you never see Chief in that light. You always are him, so you never get to see Chief like in the action in that way, because it's always you doing it to a degree. You have that like level of connection. You always feel like you're doing it, but seeing him just kick ass would be fucking awesome. And I think that's
why that movie was so good. The one where they had those trainees, and then Chief shows up and saves them.
The show, the one that was on
They did a movie.
I thought it was like a web series.
It might have been. I don't remember. I know that the longest one was the one where they had these trainees.
Yeah, it was on the that giant.
I think
ship.
they were ODST trainees.
I thought they were Spartan. Like early.
They were kids,
Spartan.
dude. They definitely weren't Spartans.
Okay,
Maybe
so
there's
two things I'm aware of that is like TV for Halo. There's
been two, yeah.
There's that web series, and then there's obviously the animated thing. It wasn't an anime, but the animation that they did, and they also
which was a series of short stories.
Yeah,
and
they also had like that trailer for a quote unquote movie that would have happened where Chief does show up and body people, but you have like Marines and ODSTs fighting early. And then the
kids were escaping in the woods. I know that because they were at a school, and the school was attacked by Covenant, and the kids basically escaped through the woods, and it was all in one class. And then they get jumped by, I think it was an elite or a brute, and then Chief comes out of nowhere and goes Billy. No, I think it was Billy
Forward
Badass.
Unto Dawn. I think that's what it was called.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, Forward Unto Dawn. That's right.
That's what
that was it.
Called. Yeah, it was a web series.
Okay, yeah, but I think each episode was different, right?
I never saw it. I never watched it.
Yeah, I think each episode was just a different thing, and the final episode was the only one that I remember Chief showing up in, and the rest were like snippets. It's been a fucking ages since I saw it.
Yeah, it's for Halo 4. It released in 2012. It's been a while, 8 years.
But it was kind of cool, like seeing him show up and fucking do shit from the kids' eyes.
That's why I always wanted to see a movie.
He was so much more badass when you're seeing it from the eyes of like a 14-year-old that sucks at everything.
Yeah, you're like, this fucking killing machine shows up. Like, that'd be so fucking cool. So it'd be cool if ODST played that way, even if it was non-canon, because that part doesn't matter as much because it's the cool. So I would love to see something like that. If they made a game that was like ODST, where you were the people supporting Chief, like the grunts, and you get to watch him like do shit. It doesn't have to be like.
You do remember that in Halo games, all the grunts die, right?
Yeah, yeah,
like,
obviously.
All of them die.
And I'm thinking it doesn't even have to play like Halo. It could be maybe more of a narrative action focused game, because obviously like these dudes aren't going to be doing all that much against like. You're not gonna have two race spawn in and these dudes jump on a mongoose and just go to town. It's not gonna fucking happen. So they might have to make some changes. But they
felt effective in the first game, but as the games went on, you have Master Chief versus an entire army, and
yeah, it's just
everyone else just dies in 5 minutes. Did not work well.
Yeah, but that'd be an interesting.
But in the first game, you'd run in and the guys would be taking out guys next to you.
And then the canon at that point wouldn't even fucking matter, because it's just more of the cool factor of seeing like this little story told, and then seeing Chief in action outside of you playing him. So I could see something like that being cool, and being non-canon, I'd be fine with it. I'd like to see something like that. And hey, that would be cooler than fucking Halo 5 and its story. I'd prefer that more than what they're doing with the story anyway. So, hey, I'd be down for that. That's my answer, Alex. Does anyone else have any other franchises? I know Shawn's not fucking with the non-canon. Sam, do you have any other franchises outside of Mario?
I don't know. Like, did we talk about Zelda maybe? Like some like Zelda stories that we could do? Like, it'd be cool to like,
I'd be interested. I'd be interested to see Zelda. Or
Ganon is a gay 16-year-old boy just trying to make it through school.
There was something I actually heard about that sounded insanely interesting. I don't remember the name of the game, but it was like a concept game they were gonna release. It was supposed to take place.
Well, let me guess. Frozen Pregnancy Simulator.
I wish, but no, it was for Zelda, and it was
that's the real thing actually.
It was supposed to take place. You know how the timeline splits and everything kind of gets fucking wonky. So it was
splits many directions.
Yeah, this takes place in the timeline. This takes place in the timeline after the hero's defeated, right? So Ganon's starting to reign, and so everyone's freaking out. But the idea for this concept game that was supposed to be released but never got anything, probably because it probably would have been dark. The whole idea was because the hero's been defeated.
Did you play Majora's Mask?
What?
You're like, probably would have been dark. I'm like, did you play Majora's Mask?
Obviously, but like this one, Majora's Mask is dark as fuck, and even Ocarina of Time is dark. But like the idea of this one would be like
Twilight Princess.
You're someone that so now the hero's been defeated. They're waiting for them to be reincarnated, but because the fairies had like promised that like if shit happens, they'll flood everything to stop Ganon, and that's where we see Wind Waker bring up later in the future.
Oh yeah.
That the idea would be like you're like just kind of some kind of villager kid that looked up to the hero, and even though he's passed, so now they're like, okay, if you can convince the fairies that you're strong enough to fight Ganon and defeat him, you'll then maybe you could do something. So maybe you're like a villager kid that's growing up and you saw the hero and you hear about his untimely demise, and it starts you like in a village, almost like Twilight, where you're hanging out with all the kids doing little shit, and then you're like, you get the news, oh shit, the hero fucking lost. What are we gonna do? Blah blah blah. And you're like, dude, I can do this. And then you obviously you have the one thing that you can't do it, and that's the Master Sword. That's usually what helps Link end up fucking Ganon over. So I would assume the idea is you would play and then you would die. Your character would get killed, and then the timeline would continue, and then it would happen later. You'd have Wind Waker, and then the hero is actually reincarnated again, to fight or whatever. So, but that'd be kind of cool. Like playing, you're not the hero, but you're trying to help and be and do what you can, and then imagine it ending with you failing, you getting clapped by Ganon. He stabs you and cuts your head off and fucking rapes your corpse or whatever, and then you see the fairies flooding all of Hyrule. That'd be fucking cool. That'd be a really different and interesting approach to Zelda, and that could actually fit in the canon because it'd be an event that isn't as vital as the others. But even if that was non-canon, that'd still be kind of cool because those stories happen all the time in the real world, or if the world existed as a human world would, those stories would exist all the time. There'd always be people stepping up to try and help, but wouldn't be able to do anything.
There are other heroes in Hyrule that are in secondary stories and little mangas and things that they released or discussed, or that you meet in the games, but they don't do anything. But the thing is there's such a power level difference between Ganon and the rest of the world.
Imagine not having a Triforce piece and a Master Sword.
Is strong enough. Yeah, the hero.
Get fucked
and it's
over.
not just that shit. It's his soul. Like, he is always the diametric polar opposite of Ganon.
Yeah.
And Zelda is the fulcrum that everything balances on. Like,
now,
she is the world. If she dies, the world dies.
When the hero is reincarnated, do they come with the shard already? Or I don't remember. Or are there? Because aren't there some games where you have to collect the shard, the part of the Triforce?
You talking about the Triforce piece?
Yeah.
The
doesn't that happen in Wind Waker?
Correctly.
In Wind Waker, you have to collect the Triforce.
You don't start with it.
No, yeah.
No, you don't start with the Triforce.
Because I know they're fated after, like, because Skyward Sword, they set it up where you kill or you fight whatever Demise or whatever the fuck his name is, and then he curses your bloodline, and that's where everything goes into it. So, like, every so often years, these two reincarnate, they bat heads, one prevails, and then it rinse and repeats.
I'm starting to get the feeling that it's one Ganon, and he just keeps coming back.
Yeah.
Although he never acts like he recognizes you, they've never made it abundantly clear if it's a different Ganon or Ganondorf, or because Ganon's just his demon form.
Yeah, if the Link's
it's what he becomes when he gives up his humanity, he changes his race entirely.
Yeah.
He's not human. He's I think
what
are the desert people?
I know the
Gerudo.
Gerudo.
Yeah, he's Gerudo. Because Groose is the first Gerudo. Groose is actually the one that starts off as your romantic rival in Skyward Sword and then becomes your friend.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one that, because he was in love with Zelda and you're in love with Zelda and she ends up choosing you. And Groose is all angry and he's a bully and whatever, and then he ends up staying on Earth.
And then goes
or on the and he starts the Gerudo race. I don't know who the fuck he mates with because there's no other fucking people down there besides Impa,
for everyone tuning
or the first Impa.
For everyone tuning in, I've been addicted. There's been these videos I've been watching on YouTube. They're called like iceberg videos, where there's been a popular like trend on Reddit where people will take people that are really invested in a certain something, whether it be like Legend of Zelda, Mario, or a certain game. They'll release these images where at the top of the iceberg, you'll have like surface level trivia. And then as it goes further down, you get to like the more obscure trivia. And people make these YouTube videos where they explain every element of the iceberg. And
yeah, it's real interesting.
Yeah, and they talk about basically everything. So you'll go in and you'll be like, oh yeah, I've heard of some of these, but you learn so fucking much about like either the history of the game or some of the trivia or histories of a franchise. They have like, it's really fucking cool. There's one about Fall Guys, and I watched that shit, and some of the theories about that fucking game, I'm like, why? What the fuck? Where'd all this come from?
The one thing that's unclear to me, because I haven't read all of Hyrule Historia, is there are certain characters that are not always reincarnated, and the way because of course they weren't in the earlier games like Impa.
Mm-hmm.
And Impa returns in like half the games. So she definitely starts getting reincarnated at some point. Zelda always gets reincarnated. Link always gets reincarnated. Ganon, I think, gets reincarnated. Maybe not.
Tinkle's always reincarnated.
Tingle. Yep, Tingle.
Or is it Tingle or Tinkle?
It's Tingle.
Tingle.
Malone
Tingle.
or whatever. Malone gets
Malone?
Doesn't she get reincarnated more than once?
I think
She's
Malone's
in, like,
only
2
in
or 3 games.
I thought she was only in Ocarina.
Yeah, Malon. Is it Malone or Malon?
I think it's Malon.
I don't know Malon.
I thought she only gets...
Malon's the one that, because he marries her or it's heavily implied that he marries her after Ocarina of Time, because Zelda has feelings for him, but he doesn't return them. He ends up settling down with Malone.
Isn't the only games they're in is Majora and Ocarina?
Ocarina, pretty sure.
I thought
she's not in that one.
She's
not in Majora's Mask, but she's in
I thought she was in
Link's
Majora's.
Awakening. She's in Link's Awakening. She's in his dream.
Wait a second.
They think that she's a stand-in for Zelda. They think that she's the character Link created in place of Zelda.
She's in Breath of the Wild, apparently.
In Oracle of the Seasons and Oracle of the Ages, they made a point of using the exact same sprite that they used for Malone in Link's Awakening as Zelda in Oracle of the Seasons.
She's in Majora's Mask. So. Yeah, because she's at the same. She's at the same. So she runs Romani Ranch with her younger sister Romani. The thing that always fucked me over with.
But everyone in Majora's Mask is dead. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. So I'm thinking the idea is probably
that must be the timeline she died in.
No, I'm thinking the idea is that the life being recreated in Termina is based off of the hero from Ocarina, because you're like in this weird purgatory thing, quote unquote. There's no.
Yeah, but I thought you weren't the only one there. I thought everyone there is dead and didn't know it.
I don't know the exacts of the metaphysical, but
they should have really been a little bit clearer on that.
The only thing that fucks me up is you go through all these interesting side stories and helping all these people, but because you never have enough time to save everything and still defeat the moon, you have to end up restarting, and you go back there and everything's back to normal. So you literally cannot save everybody. You can't. The game will not fucking let you, and I understand it's the point. It's sending a message, but I fucking hate it. Because there's that married couple that you help, that her husband's cursed by the mask. There's Malone and her farm, and I think they're fucking abducted by it. It's not aliens, but there's some crazy shit that goes on over there. And then you have all this shit going on, but because you have to fight the moon or he just crashes in, you have to restart. So then you're literally throwing away your progress. It might be that
they're all on their own personal
trial.
All dead, your trial is to stop the moon.
Yeah.
So they all might be being tested in their own way, and like you helping them is part of your test. No, that game made me feel like shit. That's why I never finished it.
I fucking love that game.
Because I just got so bummed out playing that fucking game that I never finished it. And I know it's supposed to be one of the best ones, but God, I hated that mechanic so much.
Yeah, I like it more than
and fucking going through areas that I cleaned out all over again, having to do the same fucking shit all over again, drove me fucking bananas. I like Twilight Princess more, but the thing that confuses me is if you are consistently reincarnating them, but they're always new people, and even to the point where Link teaches himself.
Yeah,
the Link, the was it the young Link that or one of the timelines, the Link that went to the future. Yeah, and he saved the world, but then went back to being a child.
Yeah,
or something like that, and then dies without being recognized as a hero. So you're telling me that Link is selfless up until he doesn't, like, he gets bitter from not being recognized as a hero. Like, that bothered me a lot, because that really puts a notch in Link's reputation, because he's always been selfless. He's never been selfish. And now you're going to sit there and tell me that he died later on without anybody believing that he had saved the world.
I think it's because maybe when they're reincarnated, because the Triforce itself, there's a lot of times where they like talk about lines where it like imbues you with certain elements. So it could also be not just reincarnation, but these people are human when they're reincarnated, and then they're taken over by the spirit of courage, blah, blah, blah. That's what gives them their selfless qualities. Then once that leaves, because the reincarnation's restarting, then they go back to the person they were normally. Because it's always a new Link, as you're saying, it's reincarnated. But when
he always looks the same. He always acts the same.
Yeah, but I'm thinking that might be when when that fate kicks back in, maybe that's when the whole process of being imbued with the courage thing, because he's supposed to resemble the courage, blah blah blah. Once that kicks out and it's going back into finding a new hero to reincarnate, maybe the person just returns to normal, who they were normally, and that's when that happens. I don't know. I don't fucking know. There's a lot of shit.
I
they
don't think
explain.
so. They don't really. Yeah, they don't really make it clear. I think it's more like Avatar. Every time you're reincarnated, you're a completely separate person.
Yeah.
And you have
it's definitely
own
new
personality,
links.
You have your own heart, your own mind.
And you're taking over.
And to a degree, you have your own soul, but your soul has a common root. So it's like one root with thousands of souls all springing out from it, and you just happen to be the newest one on the tree.
That makes sense.
I think it's more like that, because you have a completely separate Link soul from Ocarina of Time, from one of the timelines that comes back as a ghost
and is teaching young Link.
And teaches Link in Twilight Princess how to do his fucking signature moves.
He shows up multiple times. Is he also in Ocarina?
No.
No. What do you mean Ocarina? No, this is young Link from Ocarina of Time.
But I'm thinking, I swear that Shadow Link has been in more than one fucking game.
It's not Shadow Link. It's Link himself. Shadow Link is a spell. Shadow Link's just a spell. It's a golem. It's not real. It doesn't think. It's a mirror. It's just a curse.
Here we go. Dark Link.
It doesn't have a mind of its own.
Dark Link is
the thing that you fight in Twilight isn't Dark Link. The thing you fight in Twilight is the ghost of a past Link.
He's in Twilight Princess.
There's an enemy that you fight in like a dungeon, and every one of the games is a copy of you.
Well, let me see. Dark Link is a reflection of Link. He's one of the most enigmatic enemy characters in Legends of Zelda series, usually appearing with no backstory, no dialogue, although it is implied on numerous occasions to be merely constructed of shadow magic. Dark Link is more than just a mere battle against a monster, but a battle against himself, as a young hero has to face his own strength turned against him. Due to this, Dark Link is often the ultimate challenge, and is faced as the final boss on one occasion, and as the final boss of optional challenges such as Palace of the Four Swords and Take a Bow on. Dark Link bears resemblance, blah blah blah. He's in A Link to the Past, Ocarina.
But that's not who you fight, and that's not who I'm talking about. Like, this dude takes the form of a big white wolf, I think, if I remember correctly.
Yes, he's a gold wolf.
Gold wolf? Okay.
Yes. And then, yes, that is a different Link who is teaching the current Link how to fight. That is not Shadow Link or Dark Link.
But Dark Link does that too, doesn't he?
He's the Link that chose to return, because one Link wins, one Link loses, and one Link wins in the future, but then because the one that doesn't stay in the future after he wins
ask a real quick question.
Goes back to being a child.
So is there not something that happens in Ocarina of Time that is the same fucking thing? You are fighting a dark version of yourself, and it is teaching you.
Yeah,
but
that is a spell. That is a spell. That is what Ganon has done to fight regular Link.
He doesn't teach you anything. The only one that teaches you something is Twilight Princess, and it's in one of the timelines, Link wins and then goes back to being a kid again. Like, he goes back in time. He doesn't stay in the future. And when he returns to the past, he grows old and dies, and nobody believes that he was the hero, and he gets no recognition, and he gets bitter over that. And then in the afterlife, he's angry with himself for being a petty little bitch and being selfish and horrible, and like his behavior was just being bitter over it was stupid. I remember what it is now. He's upset because he died and he didn't get to pass on his skills,
his lessons
some shit
of life
like that,
to those who came after him. After he was sent back in time to his childhood.
Right. So he came back and passed them on to Twilight Link, his successor.
He appears as the white wolf who could be summoned by finding a howling stone, with the exception of the first time he's encountered, in which he appears to Link directly. Blah, blah, blah.
In the land.
In the other world, the hero's form has bluish skin and a pallid, decaying appearance, with a skeletal face, eyes glow red, while his right eye is missing. He carries a rusting sword and shield and wears armor. He looks Roman, though. It's weird. Like, none of that looks like something Link would wear.
It's just a facsimile. It's just something he fudged up to be able to fight Link.
White Wolf's also known as the Golden Wolf.
That's the only time. That was when it blew the whole reincarnation idea out of the water, because if you're reincarnated, you're the same person being reborn with the same soul the same personality, that you're essentially the same person coming back again at a second chance at doing something or a third chance.
Yeah.
And sure, you can grow up differently and be different, but the core of you is always the same.
It might be.
So.
It might.
But this is different. This is more like Avatar. Every Avatar that's born is reincarnated from the previous Avatar, but they always grow up as an entirely separate individual with nothing in common with the, well, not necessarily nothing, but they're just very, very, very different people, and yet they can talk to their past selves, right? Korra had a whole conversation with Aang, and Aang's a very different dude.
Yeah.
And they talk to each other, even though they are each other, and that's because they all come from the same, like, they all have, like, the only way that I can say it, because nobody can explain this shit to me because it's mind-bending, is that there's one root, the stalk of the tree, and every one of the souls, every time you're reincarnated, it's a new branch on the tree. All those branches are separate. They grow separately. They look separate. They have different designs or so on. But they're all part of the same tree, and I figure Link works the same way. But I don't, and I mean, Zelda obviously has to work the same way. Impa, I'm assuming, was a new blossom that started showing up. I don't know about Ganon. And it's abundantly clear in some of the games that the Ganondorf that you're fighting is the Ganondorf from the last game. For instance, in Wind Waker, right? Ganondorf 1. So you're fighting the same motherfucker from the, no, that doesn't even make sense, because at the end of Ocarina of Time, he goes full Ganon. So he would have had to have killed you before he's forced to turn into Ganon. So I don't know when you die, and I think when you die in Ocarina of Time,
two paths that happen. They had
three paths.
Well, whatever. You have the hero winning and the hero losing, and the hero losing is the path that leads to Wind Waker. So yeah, so Ganon won that battle.
And there's two hero winnings. One of them he goes back to the past, and one of them he stays in the future.
Oh yeah. Doesn't he marry the fish lady in the one he stays in the future? Or they're married or something?
I don't remember.
I don't think so.
I know that he marries. Well, it's not entirely clear, but it's heavily hinted.
I thought he had a relationship with the fish.
He marries
lady.
Malone, Princess Ruto. I think he might. I might have heard that once. Now that you're saying that, I don't know if that's deja vu or for that. It wouldn't surprise me.
I'm gonna look it up. Oh my god,
she was head over heels for
him. The older version looks nicer. The young version, Jesus. Wait.
You'd be shocked how much fucking Ruto porn there was back then.
Don't even talk to me.
Like, it was bad.
There's no vagina on that fish. You can't fuck it. All right. Stick your dick in her gills. Why am I talking?
Why are you talking?
She says maybe it's just her infatuation showing through her dialogue, but I thought she made some kind of.
She's definitely obsessed with him.
I don't know. There's so many fucking layers to the Zelda franchise. It's crazy. Remember how
that's what the Hyrule Historia is for. It's supposed to clear all that shit up.
You remember?
And they have to keep updating it every time they release a new Zelda.
Remember how crazy all that shit was before we got the official timeline, though, and everyone losing their goddamn minds. There was so many.
We just always thought it was. I just thought it was always a new parallel universe. It was just a new universe. I didn't start being suspicious that they were sequels until I played Wind Waker, and you go underneath the water and you go into that world, and all of a sudden the design of the characters and where the world was, you're like, holy shit, I know where I'm at. This is Ocarina of Time. What the actual fuck is going on? Because you can explore the castle and then that little area outside the castle. I don't think you can go into town, but I know you can cross over that bridge and go along that one walkway that runs right by the fairy fountain.
Yeah.
Oh boy, I just found a website where someone is speculating on who Link marries in Ocarina of Time.
Oh, okay. Any information?
The general consensus is that in one of the timelines it's Malone. That's all I know.
Yeah, Malone, but then one about Saria.
Okay.
That would make sense.
Doesn't she never grow old, though?
She has a problem with fertility. It's like the first line.
She has what?
She has a problem with fertility.
I thought, doesn't she never grow old? Because she's one of the...
Well, that's not... It's not that they don't grow old, dude. It's their race. She's already an adult. Like, their race, they're pixie, they're the kind of thing. They never look old. They just fade.
Okay, but doesn't she...
Like, she's a Kokiri or some shit like that. They're a whole separate race. Like, they don't change in size. They don't physically age.
But don't they mention something about once you become a sage, you stop, like, you don't, like, further decay or whatever, like a normal person would? I know that they look young. I thought once she becomes like a sage, though, like at that point, the time of your body stops progressing or some shit like that.
I thought once you become a sage, you're dead. I thought.
I mean, that could happen. I mean, on a technical level, it probably is what fucking.
I thought I was just weird. Like, what happens to them? Like, because you save them, and then they're like, "I'm sorry, Link, but I have to be a sage now." I'm like, "Whoa, what the fuck does that mean?" And then they're in this chamber with no exits, talking to you in your head like some spooky ass shit.
Yeah, they've ascended to a higher plane.
And I don't know what happens to them after that. The game never bothers to tell you because Nintendo didn't start to think to try and explain any of it until the entire world was like, all right, Nintendo, you've given us like a bunch of Zelda games. What the fuck's going on?
Please.
And then Nintendo's like, oh, well,
we'll figure it out. Give us a week.
Give us some time.
All right, Sam, anything else?
Forced it to work.
That's it for me.
Does he marry one of the Rock Eaters?
No.
They're all male.
The Goron, Jesus.
Aren't they all male?
No.
I thought they are.
See the female.
I thought they said at one time they're all male. Let me see. Gorons.
I don't ever remember that.
Male?
I think maybe they don't have a gender. That's possible.
All Gorons that are seen, I guess, are male and referred to as such. They call each other brother. Never once has a Goron referred to another as she or her. Gorons are an all-male race. Maybe that's why they eat rocks. They form them into more Gorons. And they have like an ass baby or something. Man.
No, male or female.
There's the weekly Zelda talk. Fuck. Well, thanks for the question, Alex. Oh, man. Anything else?
This is your fault.
Nintendo podcast, everyone.
Yeah, that's the fucking main topic, I guess. Hey.